This is John Clay, sports columnist of the Lexington Herald-Leader. I'm here with Ben Roberts of the Lexington Herald-Leader. We're here at Churchill Downs, where the 143rd running of the Kentucky Derby will be Saturday. Always looking forward to this race. We're going to talk about the horses and how we think the race might unfold and give our picks. Ben, let's talk first about the pace of the race. There's been a lot of talk this week about what sort of pace, that there are a lot of stalkers, but maybe not a lot of speed in this race. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Kendall Hansen, if he's to be believed, is saying that Fast and Accurate, they're going to send him out to the lead no matter what, and he wants to get, I think you said, a couple of lengths lead about a half mile in. So if that happens, I mean, you could see a pace meltdown. You never know really what's going to happen if a horse goes out like that. A few years ago, we saw Palace Malice go out with blinkers on that time and run some crazy fractions, and that kind of set it up for Orb to come from way off the pace to win that race. But you got Fast and Accurate in there at the 3-hole. State of Honor in the 6-hole. I think Mark Cassidy kind of implied that he might be going out there early and might be on or near the lead, so he might be chasing Fast and Accurate. And then one of the favorites, Always Dreamly's right there in the 5-hole, right inside of State of Honor. And you know, it seems like this week he's ready to run. He wants to run. You know, he's fighting. He wants to go. And I kind of feel like if he sees Fast and Accurate go out, he sees State of Honor go out, he might go out there with them and just run his eyeballs out those first few furlongs.
What about Irish War Cry? I know in the Holy Bull, Irish War Cry pretty much led wire to wire. He was forwardly placed in the wood. Do you think he might go out early as well? He's coming from the outside, from the 17th hole.
He'll be coming from way outside, and you know, I think he likes to be on the lead, but I don't think he necessarily needs the lead, and I certainly don't think they're going to want the lead in a race like this, especially if there are a couple horses that go out there and try to set a pretty good pace. So yeah, I see him sitting right off that lead in that kind of that second pack, maybe the lead of that second pack, and then I'm sure their hope is to get a clean trip all the way around and at the top of the stretch be able to make that one big move that he has that we've seen a couple times this year.
Let's talk about the contenders. Let's talk about the favorite, the morning line favorite at 4-1, and that would be Classic Empire, the reigning juvenile champ. Ran poorly in the Holy Bull. They had to take him down to Ocala, get him right again. He won the Arkansas Derby. Do you feel like he's back to being the Classic Empire that we saw last year, and what kind of factor is he going to be in this race? Yeah,
I loved him last year as a 2-year-old going into the juvenile, and he won that, and I thought he looked great in the Arkansas Derby, ran great in the stretch. You know, he's had so many problems in the last few months, really dating back to last year where he wheeled out of the gate in the hopeful and threw his jockey. Came back and ran 2 great races after that. Had the hoof abscess, had the back problems, refused to train, went down to Florida. Cassie seems confident. He's been telling everybody to bet as much as possible on him, apparently. And
said he got chills with his work here the other day.
Chills with his workout. Everybody who's been here all week, we've been collecting the media picks that are going to be in Saturday's paper. A whole lot of Classic Empire picks. So probably about half of the first place picks right now are Classic Empire. So, you know, a lot of people believe in him. A lot of people think he's turned that corner and is back to the horse he was before. But you just never know what he's going to do, and I think if he's on his game, if he runs his race, he's definitely the one to beat. But there's still a lot of questions.
Right. Probably the most impressive horse in all the prep races was Always Dreaming in the Florida Derby. Blew the field away by 5 lengths. Todd Pletcher was really high on him after his work on Friday. They've been working with him with draw reins, trying to get him to settle down some. Do you think he'll be able to, he's sort of a lightly raced colt, will he be able to handle the crowd and the atmosphere here at Churchill Downs?
Yeah, he's lightly raced. There are some signs that he might have some trouble with that crowd. The Florida Derby was his first stakes race, and he really didn't, I mean, obviously he won the race. He won by 5 or 6 lengths, but you know, he's never really had much adversity. He's always had a pretty easy pace. He's been on the front end of a pretty easy pace. Never any adversity in these races, and I don't think either one of those things is going to happen Saturday. There's going to be some adversity unless he just wires the field at an easy pace. I don't think he's going to get that either. So I'm going to be betting against him on Saturday. I think he might just run out and maybe flame out at the top of the stretch. A lot of people are going to be betting on him, though, and again, he's another one that if he runs this race and gets his pace, you know, I think he could be the freak in this class, but I don't think we've seen enough yet to give him that stamp yet.
The other horse who's the coach second choice is McCracken. He ran third in the Bluegrass, but he had some time off before that race. He really needed a race. He's run well here. This is his home base at Churchill Downs. Ian Wilkes, who's based at Churchill, is the trainer. He had a really good work here. People on the backside have been talking a lot about McCracken. How do you see him fitting in?
I've loved McCracken all year. He was, at the beginning of the year, was my Derby horse, and I think I'm going to pick him second in the newspaper on Saturday. Like Ian Wilkes said, he didn't need to win the Bluegrass. I would have liked to have seen something a little better. No, he wasn't much of a threat at all. Didn't do a whole lot of running in the stretch or really at all. So it would have been nice to have seen him do a little something in the Bluegrass. But it sounds like Wilkes is confident. As you said, everybody who's seen him this week has really liked the way he's looked. And he's 3 for 3 over the Churchill Downs track. So you can't,
Yeah, Todd Pletcher was saying the other day, that's a big advantage for both Classic Empire and McCracken.
Yeah, you can't discount that with McCracken for sure.
Who's a long shot? Who's a long shot maybe that people aren't talking about or not that you like?
Well, I like Hintz actually to win the race. He's had.
So he's not even a long shot for you. You got him winning.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have him on top. I think he's morning line 15-1. Turned into a bit of a wise guy horse, especially after that Sunland Derby. Won the Sunland Derby 6 weeks ago, which is a pretty long layoff. Would be one of the longer layoffs if he were to go on and win the Derby. But second place in that race was Conquest Mo Money, who finished second to Classic Empire in the Arkansas. Third place was Hedge Fund, who almost came back and won the Illinois Derby a couple weeks ago. And then IRAP was fourth in that race and obviously won the Bluegrass Stakes. So, I like, even without all that, I like the race that Hintz ran. I think he's improving race to race. He's getting better at the right time. And if you go back and look at his maiden victory, which we were talking about earlier today, which was in the slot, he made a nice move to take the lead at the top of the stretch, and then just out of nowhere ducks in and basically runs right at the rail. It looked like he was going to hop the rail, almost hit the rail, basically stopped running and got passed by the horse he had passed, and then somehow came back and won the race. And he wasn't running against great company that day, but just that adversity and the mettle he showed in that race, you're going to see stuff like that in the Derby. You're not going to get that clean trip, and for him to have the presence of mind to do that, I really liked.
The long shot I like is IRAP, the Bluegrass Stakes winner, which was his first win. He was the first maiden to win the Bluegrass Stakes. People I talked to on the backside, he's a big, strong, muscular horse who really looks like he's coming on and has gotten better since the Bluegrass. I'm not picking him to hit the board, but I think he's got a shot to hit the board. Who's your top 3?
Right now, I think going into Saturday, my top 3 are going to be Hintz, McCracken, and then Classic Empire. And again, if he's right of mind and right of body and goes out there and gets a clean trip, he's probably the horse to beat. But I like Hintz at a price. I think McCracken's price might float up a little from 5-1. But I'll certainly have Classic Empire in the mix when I'm going to the betting window Saturday.
There's been a lot of talk about this being a wide open Derby. I think it's going to be a chalk Derby. I think it's going to be Classic Empire is going to win it. I think Always Dreaming second with Irish Work right third. I don't think it's going to be a big price, but then I'm always wrong, so we'll see. But it should be exciting Derby again with a lot of good horses. I'm really looking forward to it on Saturday.
Yeah, it's always funny. You never know what's going to happen until they actually get in that starting gate and open and see what everything looks like.
Be sure and read all our coverage in the print edition of the Herald-Leader and check us out online at Kentucky.com.